Today, Stack Overflow, a question and answer website for programmers, sold for $1.8 billion. We'll figure out why that number is so enormous.
Then ransomware. It's growing fast, and there's a devastating attack right around the corner.
And it's Apple time again. WWDC. What's in store for Apple this first week in June?
I am Steven Rosenbaum, and this is Future Forward.
And I'm Alexa Scordato. Let's launch.
Hey, Alexa.
Hey, Steve.
I'm not going to lie, I'm so glad the summer has started.
I mean, I was worried because Memorial Day weekend, we experienced all-time low temperatures, but here we are this weekend and we have all-time high. So
Yeah. No, I all of a sudden there's all these, some AI has figured out to tell me about all these summer things going on around New York. And I'm like, yay, I'll go to that. And I'll go to that. And I'll go to that too.
Summer in the
Not
park.
concerts yet. Yeah, maybe.
Oh, really?
All right. So we 3 chapters. Let's just start with the big one. So we should tell our viewers, our listeners, our audience, that this is a story that you have. Not that you're going to share anything secret, but you have an insider. You have a front row seat in this story.
I do. So I ran marketing at Stack Overflow for almost 4 years, from 2013 to about 2017.
And, I don't think, other than the handful of our listeners who are hardcore programmers, I'm not sure who knows exactly what. Explain, for those of us that don't write code, what is Stack Overflow?
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's this invaluable resource for programmers to really code, because if you run into a wall while you're programming and you Google or search how to do XYZ, Stack Overflow is always one of the top results. There's actually a new question posted on Stack Overflow every 14 seconds. It is one of the world's, not just US, like world's top 50 largest web properties. And it's only grown as the developer community has expanded.
Okay, so dummy question for non-developer guy. Like, isn't it just a discussion board?
No, because you can say, oh, isn't Quora a competitor or Reddit? The difference with Stack Overflow is that the rules of engagement are so stringent that it really forces the poster to ask high quality, non-duplicated questions. And you are incentivized through like a points and gamification system to really answer in the best possible way. So it almost acts like a textbook. And there's actually very little conversation that takes place on the site.
So tell us what it's like to have worked there. What is Joel like as a boss?
So Joel Spolsky, if you don't know who Joel is probably one of the OG bloggers. The link you just pulled up, Joel on Software, is legendary. It's iconic. It's like one of the first popular personal blogs on the web. And Joel he worked at Microsoft. His sort of claim to fame there is he was a product manager for VBA. So he literally delivered the technical spec to Bill Gates. And his entire thesis, when you look at the companies that he's created, Fog Creek Software, which is now Glitch, which is also where I worked, Stack Overflow, and Trello, if you create ideal working conditions for people, or in specifically this case, developers, they will figure out what problems need to be solved and how they're going to build the solutions for those problems. And then you'll take it to market. Every other entrepreneur kind of does it backwards. They look at a problem in the market, they decide how they want to solve it, and then they attract the developers. Joel's just said, I want to create developer paradise, and I want the world's best developers to figure out what software needs to be created. And so far that's working out because Trello was sold to Atlassian for almost $400 million a few years ago after their Series A. And here we are, it took a little longer, but Stack Overflow has been acquired for $1.8 billion, which some would argue is actually cheap given the sort of collective value that they deliver on a daily basis.
So again, just bringing our audience up to speed, and then we'll get into the sale. Like, is there revenue that supports a $1.8 billion acquisition?
Yeah. So for the longest time, when I was working there, the lion's share of revenue actually came from a talent solution, basically helping developers get jobs. And so companies were posting job listings and they were accessing this like candidate database of developers who were for hire. But then probably like the last year that I was there, we started to not quite pivot, but we introduced a new revenue line, which was Stack Overflow for Teams. And so for the longest time, a lot of companies were saying, I can't host my proprietary code on Stack Overflow and have developers asking public questions about projects. And they were asking for basically on-premise white label Stack Overflow in the enterprise. And so that was something that was developed my last year that I was there. And so, yeah, there are thousands of companies around the world now who manage or host, because you could do it on premise or in the cloud, their own version of Stack Overflow.
So they're a competitor to GitHub.
No, GitHub's like storing the code. It's almost like, okay, you're a filmmaker. Imagine you had a robust team of like tens of thousands of producers, editors, and art directors. Everything from where you store files to how you transfer those files to literally how to make films. Imagine having an internal repository like of knowledge for those people.
So how many people were in New York when you left? Like 10 or 500 or?
We were always remote. And so when I left, we had offices in Denver, New York, London, and Germany. We actually shut down the Denver office. And the company has gone through like lots of ebbs and flows. So I was actually there when the company downsized. The company from that point on was starting to really shift into teams and away from talent.
And, lots of investors, Series E, you said, but just doing the math on the back of an envelope, is Joel filthy rich? Yeah, he's really wealthy.
Joel did really well with the Trello acquisition. Do you know Trello, I think, only did a $10 or $12 million Series A round and was acquired for, again, almost $400 million.
Wow. So this is a big deal for New York. This is kind of where I was going with this, which is, for some reason, there is this drumbeat that somehow all the big money is in San Francisco. It's all on the West Coast. And New York just chugs away and builds these amazing companies. And let's talk about who the acquirer is, because it's not a name I'd ever heard before. And they have kind of an interesting backstory. It's a company called Process.
Mm-hmm.
Process, which I've never said out loud before. So it's not Google, and it's not Apple, and it's not Amazon, and it's not Microsoft. Presumably, Microsoft seems to be buying a lot. You would have thought they would have looked. So there's always some of an auction. It'd be interesting to know how much more Process had to dig into their collective pocket to. But Process.
Well, I think they just offloaded a lot of shares actually of Tencent. But either way, they're investors in, I think, Skillshare and Code Academy. And so when you look at their press release, they see Stack Overflow as part of a growing portfolio of technical skills-based training. Like technical learning is a huge chunk of what they're interested in. And so Stack Overflow is, again, invaluable.
Let me say this without being cynical. Generally, the fantasy exit for companies is to a bigger company as opposed to an investment company. So I guess my question is, and I guess this is just me not understanding the transaction yet, but I will. So Joel was wealthy and is now more wealthy. They need someone to run this thing, but they're an investment firm, not an operator. Like generally when I hear that people sold to a PE company, not these guys, but to a private equity firm, my reaction is, oh, it must have been a
fire sale.
bad egg. Yeah, fire sale. This is clearly not that. So
I think you need to look at it more like when, I don't know, over a decade ago, like Art of Shaving was acquired by Procter and Gamble. Like it's more of like a holding company, and it actually allows Stack Overflow to sort of run independently. They do not need to be operators because they're operators at Stack Overflow. I think one of the worries that we always had is that if a Stack Overflow went public or Stack Overflow were to be acquired by like a FANG company, that there would always be a tension between the corporate interests and impacting the bottom line versus Stack Overflow's core mission, which is to really enable the world's developers to share knowledge.
So is there some alumni back channel network that lit up like a Christmas tree?
I mean, we were all texting each other when we saw the Wall Street Journal break the news because they had the exclusive, and we all hopped on like an impromptu Zoom later that night, and it was fun. I mean, if anyone who's ever been lucky enough to work at a startup, regardless of the exit, where you had really smart, passionate, kind people sort of just in their flow together, it's like a really beautiful thing. That was like probably some of the 4 best years of my career.
Well, don't say that like your career's over. To date.
For sure, but I'm just saying that like I met some of my best friends there. Like I literally married 2 coworkers while I worked there, and yeah, and we all still stay in touch. When I was in Boulder the other week, I saw a friend. I had lunch with our former CFO the other day. Like there's a strong alumni contingent for sure.
Okay, so this what you're saying is happy news for New York, happy news for the company, happy news for employees. Like this is a genuine good news.
It's like an amazing win-win-win. It's great for the community. It's great for the investors. It's great for current and former employees. And like, you know, this exit minted 61 new millionaires. And I know them, and they're all awesome people. Like that's what I love about this. Like life-changing.
That's fantastic. Well, congratulations. It's very exciting. It's good for New York. You know, for all the years I've been in New York tech, I've never met Joel. I've never seen him on a
neighbor.
Panel. Never seen him on a panel.
You probably have seen him in Central Park many times because he has a dog that he walks in Central Park every day, like you.
I'm sure we've walked past each other. All right. So now let's move on from the happy story to the not unhappy story, but potentially scary story. And let's talk about what's going on with cyber attacks. I have to confess that when I heard that the U.S.'s largest meatpacking company was the victim of a ransomware attack, my reaction was like, huh? Like,
how does that even happen?
Yeah, no, but also like what do they need the internets for? I mean, time card management, like shipping and receiving. I couldn't quite see what a meat like why wouldn't they just go, oh, okay, well then we'll fax the orders, but of course the answer is, that we're all deeply committed. Like every single system we operate on in our personal lives, in our business lives, when the internet goes down, work stops.
I mean, now you're tapping into the Andreessen Horowitz investment thesis, which is basically software is eating the world. Disclosure, they're also an investor in Stack Overflow. But yeah, software is everywhere. It's in meat packing facilities. It's in our, I don't know.
So play that out. Play that out. Just for those of us that are not, again, I'm in the not developer chair today. What are the things you could imagine that would stop working if a big multi-plant manufacturer could no longer access its database?
I mean, it could be everything because it has like a ripple effect. So no meat cascades into like daily food supply, like in the stores, restaurants.
I meant it the other side. Like no payroll, no receiving, no shipping, no payables, no receivables.
Everything back office.
No time cards, no sick days, no time off managed, like all of the people, raw materials, packing materials, orders, delivery dates, shipping manifestos. I assume there's all kinds of government reporting that needs to be done.
Accounting. Yeah, everything.
So the other day, the internet went out in my home office. And what was fascinating was, I know this, of course, but like everything that I do in a day stopped working.
Mm-hmm.
Every document I was working on was on Google Docs. I couldn't access them. Theoretically, they were on my desktop. I couldn't find them. So there's an article in Axios, and the headline reads, "Sergeant at Arms, cyber attacks against Congress keep me up at night." And again, same thing. Congress, a bunch of guys and a bunch of women in a chamber, they vote, they read bills, theoretically. Why couldn't they just keep working? What could you do if you could attack Congress?
You could shut down the entire U.S. government.
It's been done before. So let's try it this way. I'm trying to get our audience to understand the incredibly doomsday scenario. Alexa, have you ever lived through a blackout?
I have. I was taking classes at Columbia when we had the blackout in New York, and I had to walk from 116th Street south to like Midtown.
So a blackout is a good example because on one hand you go, well, the lights go, what's the big deal? We'll light a candle, we'll have dinner. But what happens is the traffic lights stop, traffic gets dangerous, the subways
Cell phones didn't work.
Yeah. So then all of a sudden the refrigerator, someone told me that Zabar started giving away ice cream.
Yep. Ben and Jerry's, the bars started just like tapping their kegs because.
Well, but different though. The giving away ice cream was because it was all melting in their freezers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they couldn't. So food goes, it is. So if you think of electricity as kind of the connective tissue that keeps the city running, in some ways, when was the last blackout? 10 years ago? Longer? I don't remember. Yeah.
There was like a temporary one recently, but just like the Upper West Side, I think.
So if you were running a company today, what would you do to protect yourself from ransomware?
I don't even know how to answer that question because it's like there's so many dependencies on, say, cloud-based software. Like if you've ever had experienced outages for, say, Gmail or Slack or Salesforce went out, I think like the other week, everyone's productivity gets shot. When the rare time Stack Overflow went down, we heard it. Like people basically like could not do their jobs. And that's not even ransomware. That's just like access to web-based software?
I probably get 15 phishing emails a week.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are incredibly clumsy, like ha ha ha,
But
your
some are
Apple
not.
account. Yeah, no, but some are not. Some are like, I have to look at it and then I have to look at and then you can generally go, oh wait, that email address isn't from Microsoft Word, like from Microsoft. But like all it takes in a big company is one either lazy or not careful employee to click on that, and they're in your network.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem. I think the likelihood of a massive, like society impacting ransomware attack is incredibly high.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other question is morally, if you were CEO of the meatpacking company or the hospital, or there was one the other day I just saw, like, would you pay it?
I don't know if you have a choice.
No, you don't have a choice. It's not even a pause. You do the math. You go, let's see. It's going to cost me X. The more days I'm out, like the $5 million fee is going to cost. It's costing me $1 million a day in losses, and it's growing exponentially. It's an easy math problem.
Yeah. I mean, this is where cybersecurity is a really important growing professional field. But I mean, you do in larger companies now, you do sort of have different permission settings, like which employees have access to what. But even then, the systems are so pervasive that it's hard to contain, I think.
The other thing I think, though, that people forget is that software is based on humans. So I'll just give you an example. The U.S. government, there was an story the other day that in sending out the COVID relief checks, the U.S. government has sent about $1 billion accidentally to either people who are dead or overseas or not eligible.
Right.
And now they're trying to get it back.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when you think about the internet being external, like within companies, you have an intranet, and it's actually so network based. You are incentivized in all of these systems to basically connect with colleagues. So you're never working in the silo.
All right. So we should worry about ransomware. All in favor of worrying about ransomware, say aye.
Aye.
Let's move over to talk about Apple.
Can you believe we're at a year? Do you remember last year watching this WWDC and how well produced it was?
Yes.
I can't believe we're doing it again.
So there's all of this press that says this is going to be the first virtual, like VR WWDC, and I'm like, okay, I don't know. Then the production values are supposed to be extraordinary. I was excited about that. I guess I'm a little confused because I thought that was what last year was.
I thought that was last year too, unless there's if you have like the headset, like an AR VR headset, you get an enhanced experience. Or does it actually mean our phones, like the LiDAR technology, if we hold it up to the screen, it's going to do something? Because that would be sick. That would be sick.
I don't know. I saw a little, or maybe we're all going to have avatars and be able to walk around.
Who knows? That would be, they could do that. They could literally have it where you, as a viewer, hold up your phone, your camera, and then when your camera points to the television, it could potentially change what you see on your phone screen.
So I have a 24-inch iMac on my desk. I have an iPhone. I have an iPad. We have a couple of older 18-inch, the smaller iMacs. I'm thinking this next round with the M1 chip and the pretty color back, I may go buy a bunch of them.
A bunch of what?
New iMacs.
Oh, okay.
This may be time to kind of recycle my entire Macintosh crop of machines.
You can start fresh and fast.
Everyone says the M1 is amazing.
Oh, yes. I have not heard a single negative thing about it.
I sit in front of, I look at the spinning beach ball of death for probably 20 minutes a day.
Oh, gotta upgrade, Steve. It's time.
I know. But upgrading is its own terrible shit show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do it gradually
So was there,
over time.
nah, I might just pull the trigger. It's summer. It's a good. So all right. So let's talk about. There were a bunch of rumors in this TechCrunch piece about things that might be announced. Probably they'll. Some of them seem obvious, and some of them
Like
seem
health updates.
Watch. By the way, according to TechCrunch, the live event begins in 27 hours. So stay tuned.
And then this is a very developer-y focused pod today, but WWDC really is for developers. It's really meant to introduce, this is what you can build. This is how the software can change. It's not a hardware update.
Right. So one of the things they're talking about is a really big update to the home screen.
Right, with widgets.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually underutilized. They've already, some apps have widgets, but I feel like they could really push it further to be even better. Do you use widgets on your phone?
Not really. And I don't have an Apple Watch.
I like them. I mean, I'm not giving anything away. But see, like my weather app, is how it's bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Imagine you did that with other apps that you use all the time.
But widgets are different than apps. How?
Well, the app is just like the regular icon. You have to click into the app in order to access the content. The widget is extracting basically like the top line updates that you want from the app. So say you're tracking stocks, or say you have Trello and you need to surface your to-dos. The widget is meant to sort of give you a shortcut on your home screen on your phone.
Yeah, there's, I guess I do use widgets some. So there's also some rumor that the Apple TV remote is going to have a whole new kind of role in the universe.
I mean, thank goodness, because it can only go up from here, because I think it's so bad.
What's funny is they must know that, right? I mean, anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So you're gonna watch WWDC tomorrow?
It depends if I'm in meetings or something. I usually try to catch a little bit of it, but I always watch later. I won't necessarily. Yes, I will watch it, but I won't necessarily watch it live.
I think that's right. I'll put it on my calendar just in case I'm between things, but mostly I'll run it in the background. All right. Well, with that, fabulous week.
Happy June.
Happy June. Enjoy the nice weather. I have been buying watermelon at scale.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, how do I know it's summer? I'm buying corn and watermelon. And I have my sippy cup. All right. Have an excellent week. See you next week.
See you next time.
Bye.